Before we get into this, do us a favor. If you care about the integrity of the WNBA, the future of women's basketball, and fair officiating at the professional level, hit like, drop a comment with your experience watching this season's whistle, and subscribe so you don't miss our continuing coverage. What we're unpacking today isn't another routine gripe about a missed call. It's a fast-moving integrity story with potential federal implications, sworn testimony from veteran referees, and serious questions about league governance at the highest level. Here's the headline. Multiple long-tenured WNBA officials have now provided sworn statements alleging that league leadership influenced how certain games were officiated. According to those statements, the guidance originated at the top, specifically from the Commissioner's office. To be clear, these are allegations presented under oath, not proven in court. But the gravity is unmistakable. This isn't a sports bar rumor or a social media thread. It's testimony with names, dates, and internal meeting descriptions attached, and it lands at a moment when basketball officiating across the sport is already under extraordinary scrutiny. For months, WNBA players, coaches, and fans have voiced concerns about inconsistency and excessive physicality. The frustration didn't come from a single team or region. It came from nearly every corner of the league. You heard it in post-game press conferences. You read it in players' comments about what was being allowed. You saw it in coaching staffs pleading for clarity about contact thresholds that seemed to move from quarter to quarter. The chorus grew louder as stakes got higher. The conversation changed, however, when reports surfaced that 3 veteran referees had testified about internal directives that prioritized protecting the league's image over applying a straightforward rulebook. One alleged instruction, summarized by those familiar with the testimony, said the quiet part out loud: excessive attention on one player would disrupt the league's image. If accurate, that isn't an officiating philosophy. That's image management. The timing of these revelations matters. The NBA is already dealing with an officiating scandal tied to gambling and integrity. Analysts like Stephen A. Smith went on national television and said the part that sent a shockwave through both leagues. If federal investigators are examining the NBA, don't be surprised if the WNBA is next. That wasn't a hot take for clicks. It was a statement about oversight. When one league under the same umbrella faces questions about the independence of its officials, adjacent leagues tend to fall under the same microscope. Oversight doesn't stop at one logo. Layer onto that the arrival of Caitlin Clark, the most transformative rookie the WNBA has seen. This isn't hype. It's data. Attendance surged, ticket prices spiked, road games sold out, and television ratings climbed into new territory. Clark's presence drew casual fans into the building and pushed the WNBA into mainstream conversation. By any reasonable measure, she became the league's most visible asset, its biggest star, largest attendance draw, and most reliable ratings magnet. And yet, on many nights, what the wider audience saw was a relentless level of contact directed at Clark that would, at minimum, merit consistent whistles in any other professional environment. Hip checks off the ball. Forearms through the ribs. Shoulder shots in traffic. The type of hits that, across the league, often generated a foul for other players. The discrepancy was visible. You didn't need slow motion to recognize it. Fans asked the obvious question game after game. How is that not a foul? If the sworn statements are accurate, and again, these are allegations that will be tested, the answer may have been baked into officiating guidance. Do not reward the rookie. Do not tilt attention. Do not let one player become too big. In other words, keep the spotlight evenly distributed even if the game naturally wants to put it somewhere else. That would not be an officiating error. That would be an editorial decision. This is where governance, not grievance, enters the picture. According to people briefed on the situation, the statements from referees have moved beyond HR complaints and into formal ethics channels. These aren't questions that get addressed with a press release. They get addressed with documents, depositions, and policy reviews. Investigators will want to see emails, call notes, meeting agendas, and direction given to officiating crews before and after high-profile games. They will test whether there was a pattern, by player, by team, by broadcast window, that correlates with the allegations. And here's the uncomfortable reality for the league office. Perception has been trending in the wrong direction all season. To a growing segment of viewers, the officiating didn't just feel inconsistent, it felt targeted. That's the point where a PR problem becomes a legitimacy problem. Professional sports run on one form of currency: trust. Players need to trust that rules are applied evenly. Coaches need to trust that game plans are rewarded by execution, not influence. Fans need to trust that what they're watching is competition, not programming. When that trust erodes, ratings and revenue are the second-order effects. The first-order effect is belief. It's important to add the league's perspective here. Commissioner Kathy Engelbert has emphasized stability, expansion, corporate partnerships, and mainstream visibility. Under her watch, the WNBA has secured sponsorships, explored new markets, and capitalized on a once-in-a-generation wave of interest. Those are real accomplishments. But stability built on manipulated outcomes, if this is ultimately proven, would not be leadership. It would be control dressed up as progress. There is a difference between stewarding growth and shaping results. The optics haven't helped. This season, there were moments when the commissioner appeared at marquee games wearing team-coded attire or positioned courtside in a way that undercut the ideal of neutrality. On its own, that's a footnote. Against the backdrop of sworn allegations, it becomes a data point. Perception matters when the foundation is trust. There's also the structural piece to consider: governance committees. Several stakeholders across the league, governors, GMs, coaches, have contributed to discussions about what style of basketball the WNBA wants to allow. That's not unusual. Every league calibrates points of emphasis annually. But there is a bright line between points of emphasis and coordinated officiating directives that aim to balance attention. If that line was crossed, the remedy isn't rhetorical. It's structural. Zoom out and look at the macro story. For 2 decades, WNBA advocates wanted exactly what 2024 delivered: a phenomenon. A player who could take the league viral, push arenas to capacity, and carry coverage across the summer. Clark did it, on the road and at home, after an all-time college career where she never missed a game, 185 straight, including 139 with Iowa. The way to nurture that kind of lightning is simple. Let the game breathe and protect your crown jewels the way every major league protects theirs. Michael Jordan, Serena Williams, Tiger Woods, Lionel Messi, Tom Brady, the list of disruptive stars is the history of sports growth. Greatness is loud. It disrupts. It breaks patterns. Smart leagues ride it. What the referees describe amounts to the opposite: a posture of restraint. A fear of imbalance so strong that it allegedly triggered a policy of friction, allowing more contact, swallowing whistles, discouraging any officiating that could be interpreted as rewarding the league's most visible player. If accurate, it's an extraordinary misread of how sports expand. The reaction has been equally extraordinary. National voices who rarely wade into WNBA officiating stepped in. Don't be surprised if the WNBA is next, Stephen A. Smith said, linking the NBA's ongoing integrity investigations to the WNBA's moment. That wasn't an accusation. It was a forecast. It signaled that what was once a niche conversation had crossed over into a mainstream integrity narrative. Meanwhile, the player at the center of the storm kept her head down and played. No bitter interviews. No subtweets. No splashy public comments. Just basketball, enduring contact, getting up, returning to the huddle, and keeping the focus on the court while executives, lawyers, and ethics officers moved behind closed doors. That difference in comportment has only sharpened the contrast for viewers. The youngest star in the league modeled professionalism while the adults in charge fought to control the story. Where does this go next? If investigative reviews substantiate the referee's testimony through emails, pre-game talking points, internal messaging, or quantifiable patterns, this will not end with "we will do better" and a summer clinic for referees. It will end with leadership changes. It will result in independent officiating oversight, external audits, transparent assignment protocols, and public discipline for those who crossed the line. It will likely produce a total rewrite of referee governance: who trains, who evaluates, who communicates points of emphasis, and what role, if any, league executives have in those communications. There will also be a competitive component: game reviews. If specific contests are shown to have been influenced by directives that contravene the rulebook, the league will face pressure to explain outcomes publicly. The WNBA has historically been nimble about policy messaging. This is not a messaging problem. This is a governance problem. From an economic standpoint, the stakes are obvious. By some estimates, Clark accounted for more than a quarter of WNBA economic activity this past season: ticket sales, merchandise, broadcast impact. That's not a sustainable business model by itself. No league should rely on one player. But suppressing the player who drives that activity is the worst possible answer. The correct response is to raise the floor around her. Marketing, media access, officiating clarity that allows skill to shine for every player, and use the moment to draft the next cohort of stars into the spotlight. Instead, if these statements are accurate, the league allegedly tried to slow the ascent of the one person lifting the tide for everyone else. There's also a legal reality to address. If federal agencies do get involved, and the NBA's ongoing situation creates a plausible pathway, they won't be measuring narrative. They'll be measuring process. Who made what decision, when, and why? Did those decisions alter how the game was officiated? Did they materially impact competitive outcomes? Were they communicated in a way that suggested image management over fair play? This is compliance language, not commentary. It's the difference between a press conference and a deposition. To date, the WNBA has not been charged with any wrongdoing, and the Commissioner's office has not publicly responded in detail to the specific sworn claims. The league deserves due process. So do the referees. So do the players who feel they've been failed by a system that has not kept them consistently safe. But due process isn't code for delay. It means a fair review done quickly and thoroughly. The fan base deserves that. So do the broadcast partners who have invested in this moment. One more point that can't be ignored: fans. If you're wondering what ultimately moves leagues to act, it's not the hottest debate segment. It's subscription retention, gate trends, and sentiment analysis turning south. The WNBA has never had this many eyeballs. That is an asset and a responsibility. The people who showed up for the first time this season did so because the product felt urgent and real. They will not keep showing up for a product they perceive as scripted. Trust is a non-renewable resource. When it's gone, it's gone. So what should happen now? Independent oversight of officiating, immediately. Transparent points of emphasis briefings released to teams and fans before the season. Clear injury and safety protocols that put player protection at the center without neutering competition. Internal firewalls between the Commissioner's office and officiating departments, with third-party audits to ensure compliance. And a public commitment to celebrating, not smothering, the disruptive greatness that drives leagues forward. Above all, leadership has to re-embrace the simplest truth in sports. Games are decided by players, not executives. If you believe that, you know what accountability looks like. It starts at the top, and it doesn't hide behind optics. Do you think the investigations will find substance behind these sworn statements? What reforms would restore your confidence in WNBA officiating? Tell us in the comments. Like this video so more fans see it, subscribe for ongoing updates as this story develops, and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next report. We'll be tracking every development, from governance decisions to policy overhauls to the on-court product, and we'll be here to break it all down the moment there's news.